Hey everybody, let's let me get this stopped. There we go. It's the Wrench Sense, Dave, Ryan, Rick. How you guys doing? Thanks for showing up for another week of mayhem and mayhem. We keep getting closer. Chuck's there. Hey Chuck, how you doing? We keep getting closer to that 150 mark. I just crested 352. It's funny, they give you the awards a little late, but yeah, I'm over 350 videos on this channel now, and getting up there in views too. I don't have that in front of me right now, but getting pretty. Rick says school's in session. Thanks. Hey Rick, really great job getting that small block together. It's looking good. Won't be much longer now. You get that thing in the car. Rinson, yes, it's raining extremely bad right now. I guess you can hear it in the feed. Sorry about that. Ryan says wouldn't miss it. Yeah, let's go 150. Pretty wild to think about 150 live shows. It's crazy. Still working on trying to figure out how to get some more content on the channel. I haven't had any time to do any of that stuff. NP, I don't catch that. Okay. But yeah, so moving along. This week was kind of short with Mother's Day. We went out of town. The wife and I went out of town, so we didn't get back till late yesterday. Today I got the Smurf out of the trailer and just kind of made sure everything is dialed in. It was already loaded and ready to go for the last race that got rained out. Funny, we have rain going right now. But yeah, I don't think there's any rain in the forecast in Orangeburg, South Carolina. So, hey Chris, how you doing? Yeah, 150 soon, man, for sure. And for you, Chris, I sent the a lot of the parts that were going in the machine shop. I fat fingered the address when I typed it. It was supposed to be 320, and I hit 320 with the 9 behind it, 3209. So it got sent back, and I got the address correct, and now it should be showing up at the machine shop here shortly. So we should be able to get that thing done soon. Chris says he's got a question coming. Yeah, go ahead and whenever you're ready, man, shoot the question. So did a little work on Scott's Vega, trying to get the motor mounts done. It didn't get very far with it. I need to get the proper metric nuts for the motor mounts. I've got the nylon locking nuts, but I don't want to run them on and off a bunch of times and have them worn out. So that kind of stopped on there. Working on the T-type, and I had an issue when I was going through all the systems, getting it ready to start road testing, that when I hit the left turn signal, I get a left indicator on the Holley dash. When I hit the right turn signal, both indicators, left and right, would illuminate. I checked my wiring to the dash. That was correct, so I said I better start checking the vehicle. Well, I had bulbs out in the front, and I realized there's no lighting in the back of the car. No running lights, no brake lights, no reverse lights, nothing. So I started working on that. Found the brake light wire going to the turn signal switch was broken off, and fought for a good portion of the day trying to get that terminal out, which I have not succeeded with yet. So that's that kind of burned a lot of time and weren't able to get very far with it, but it will happen. And then of course being gone half a day Friday and then all day Monday and Saturday, kind of took a lot of time away. But and then of course this week, today I worked on just prepping the. Sorry about that. Got a drawer messing with me. Trying to get the Smurf ready, loaded up. Had to move a number of cars to get the trailer out and this and that. And I built a generator. I didn't get any video of it, but I built a new box for the new generator on the front of the trailer. That was what I did on Friday. Half day Friday was welding up this big aluminum diamond plate box for the generator. And like I said, we rolled the car out today, fired it up, made some adjustments on the front end. I didn't like the way the Zeus fasteners were mounting the front end. It was kind of cockeyed, so worked on that. And just getting everything, crossing the T's, dotting the I's for the race coming up. And of course, then tomorrow evening, we're heading out to go to South Carolina Motorplex. So to get ready for the race, we'll be testing on Thursday, and then probably grudging on Friday, and then of course our small block A-League shootout is on Saturday night. So just making sure that we are completely ready, being that we were thought we were ready last time and got rained out and then time delays and everything else, and just want to make sure we do excellent at this year's event. But tomorrow I'll work on the Vega a little bit before I head out. The Smurf rig is all loaded up and ready to go, so that's all done. And pretty much where we're at with that. I did capture a little video just on the fire up, just making sure everybody's happy and car's ready to go. So here's a little shot. Yes, that was just a little warm up just to make sure. Of course, I had my thumb over the camera a couple times, but yeah, it should be all good to go. I think we are, like I said, we got the I's crossed and the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So hopefully we'll be ready to go. Appreciate that wrench sense. Yeah, that thing is healthy little small block, that's for sure. So again, hopefully we do get the race this weekend, and I'll get a bunch of video, as much as I can anyway. I don't know, I'm gonna try a couple things I got in my mind, maybe a chest cam or something like that, or maybe I'll set up the tripod with the with the follower set up while we're in the pits, maybe prepping the car or something like that. We'll figure out something. See, Ron's in. Hey, Ron, how you doing? You're cross-eyed. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so that's about it there. Being I was out of the shop and stuff, I didn't get a whole lot done. But one of the things that I do a lot of is people send me tuning files for their Sniper, Terminator X, Holley HP and Dominator, and this one guy in Chris out of California. Eyes crossed. Eyes crossed. Yeah. now I understand what you're saying. Yes. T's crossed. I's dotted. Yes. Got me on that one. Well, anyway, so this guy Chris, I've been working with him for a while, and I think we got him going down the right path. So, kind of wanted to show you guys some stuff on that, since I didn't have a lot of stuff in the shop tech-wise to show, and definitely am trying to put something together for the 150 show. So anyhow, let me go ahead and pull that stuff up. So let me see if I can get this. Let me back up here. Okay. So one of the things when you're wow, the rain's getting loud now. One of the things you have to do when you're doing a remote tuning, you have to figure out how to send files. So let me show you what normally you'd want to see. Get this ready here. Chris says, I have two stuck brake pistons, one on the Nova and one on the truck. The question is, replacing the caliper, what is the best way to fill the caliper with fluid or bleed the caliper by myself? Hey, Johnny Rocket, how you doing? Chris, the best thing to do, I mean, you don't have to worry about filling the caliper at all. What you want to do is remove the cap on your master cylinder, and then open the bleeder on that caliper and let it gravity bleed from the master cylinder. Since the master cylinder is up high and the caliper is down at the wheel, it will gravity bleed. Once you get air out of it and you see solid fluid coming out, then you can close it off, and then you can do a quick pump and bleed, and you should be 100%. It works really good if you've got, I think you have those Willwood jugs, because then you can run the hose up from the caliper, because air is going to go up, so you can run it up and then back into the container. So you can watch the air coming out as it's gravity bleeding. Yeah, that's 100% true, wrench sense. When you put the caliper on, the bleeder should always go straight up. Now, if you've got a Willwood caliper or any aftermarket caliper that has bleeders on both sides, then the reason they do that is so the caliper can fit left or right. One caliper fits both sides. Just makes it easier for the manufacturer. But you always want to bleed with the bleed screw at the top, because all the air is going to go to the top of the cylinder behind the piston. So the only way to get it out is to bleed up. Now, if you've got a car that's got modified brake hangers on it, or you've got some kind of kit or something, it's not the factory stuff. I've seen over the years where sometimes you'd have to actually take the caliper loose and rock it so that the bleeder is to the top. If it's halfway down, you're not going to get the air out of it. So, but OE stuff is always going to be to the top, and like a Willwood is always going to be to the top on one set of bleeders. But I've seen brackets that mount the caliper on the top. Well, now the bleeders are coming out level. That's not going to work. So you'd have to tilt it, undo one side of it, and tilt it up to get the bleed screw all the way up. Once you get the air out by gravity, it's not the best to put it back on and have the bleeders out the side, but you should be in pretty good shape by gravity bleeding. Another key point here is on stuck calipers. So a lot of your OEM stuff, and Chris, that would go maybe for your truck, a lot of times OEs will use a plastic piston, and they can get distorted from heat and stuff like that. So obviously, that would have to be replaced. Like on a wheelwood caliper, it just basically has an O-ring. So a lot of times you can take the caliper off, put a block of wood, thin wood in between the calipers, blow shop air in it, and blow the pistons out and clean them, because they may have crud and stuff built up on the outer pieces of the piston, and then put them back together, or put new O-rings in and then put it back together. That will stop a caliper from sticking. The other thing is check for bad brake hoses. I've seen this, especially on OEM rubber hoses, especially on cars that are older. Taking the caliper off, putting it back on. Sometimes you can get the hose twisted, and the hose can actually make like a one-way valve or a duckbill valve inside the hose, where it'll let the fluid go into the caliper, but it won't release. So what I like to do when I'm diagnosing a stuck caliper is I'll pump the brakes really hard, try to get that caliper to be stuck. Then I'll go and open the bleeder on that caliper. If there is pressure when you open the bleeder, it's the hose that's causing the caliper to stick. It's nothing wrong with the caliper. But if you open it and just a little bit of fluid trickles out and there's no pressure, then it's the caliper stuck, because the piston is stuck in its position and there's no pressure behind it holding it stuck. So just a little tidbit there. Let me check up here on the thing. Bleeders at the top. Yep. Thanks to stuck pistons. Is it my driving? Well, I mean, calipers getting hot, especially with brake fluid. It may not be, you're getting the caliper hotter than the brake fluid boiling point. It's very possible the brake fluid can break down in the caliper and then create that crud buildup on the piston, because the fluid's melting or boiling in between the housing of the caliper and the piston. It's very tight tolerances there, and that could cause a film of some sort. It would create the piston to stick to the O-ring. Dave says, yes, you suck at driving, not racing. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, Chris. Your truck, it could be a caliper, if it has the pistons in it. Hey Cole, how you doing? I don't remember what calipers you had on your Nova, but like a Bear or a Willwood or anything like that, JFZ, any of the performance calipers, Alcon, they're all going to be pretty much the same design inside, where they'll either have a square O-ring or a square ring, or a round O-ring, and that'll cause it. But yes, what about the hose? What will a bad hose look like? So, Chris, Wrench Sense is right. Collapsed line. So, a brake hose, you can't usually see it being bad on the outside. What happens on a rubber hose is it's got rubber layer, it's got a braided inner layer, and then it's got a rubber layer inside that. And what can happen is the rubber will disintegrate as it's cracking. So that's why if you see a rubber brake hose that's got cracking in it, replace it, because obviously you can't see on the inside, but if it's cracked on the outside, chances are it's cracked on the inside. Like I said, if a caliper's been off, I know we did take your calipers off on your truck. If we got them twisted around and put back on, and the hose has got like a hard line whoopty in it or a kink in it, that would cause the line to go, and it wouldn't be a caliper. The other thing on your truck hoses, they go through a couple metal brackets. If the metal brackets have rust or anything, they could rust in and tighten down on the OD of the hose, which could make a restriction on the ID of the hose. So like I said, the only good thing you can do, or the only thing you can really check on a rubber hose brake line, or any hose brake line for that matter, is pump the brakes, try to get it to stick, and then crack the bleeder and see if there's pressure when you open the bleeder, which would say the hose is letting brake fluid go into the caliper, but it's not letting it return to the master cylinder, which then would be causing the caliper to stick. So Oh, it's a back one. Okay, so yeah, so we didn't do those. But that's what you need to do, though, is, like I said, pump the brakes a bunch of times, try to get the brake to stick, and then open the bleeder, or just replace the hose. You know, they're not that expensive, and it's could be you know, you could be just better off doing that. But you can always tell, because they'll be, if the hose is pinched or jammed or anything like that, or collapsed on the ID, standing on the brakes a bunch of times, getting the caliper to stick, you'll always have brake pressure at the bleeder screw when you open the bleeder. If it's, like I said, if it's just dripping out, no pressure, then the hose is fine. It is the caliper. So hopefully that works for you, and let us know how it works out. Wow, this rain is crazy. So anyway, so like we were talking about earlier, if you're going to do some remote tuning on your car, you're going to have to be able to send files and receive files. So let me open up a document. I'll open up a download file. Oh, this rain is incredible. Okay. What happened here? Oh, I went to... I opened them up too far. Okay, so let me get this set up here real quick. I already downloaded these files, but I want to bring one back up so I can show you how to do it. All right, so if you're going to send files, and let Holley the system install the file for you. You can go to your document. So you got My PC. Oh, I went too far. My PC, and you go to Documents, and in your document file, you're going to have Holley right there. Now, of course, you can see on mine, I've got all the Holley V platforms. I got Sniper 1 and 2, and then I've got all the different Terminators. So the vehicle that Chris is working on is a Terminator X3, V3. So we'd open V3, and then if we're looking for a global file, it's going to be under Global Files, right here. And then you just have to find where it goes. Now on my computer, to make it easy, I make subdirectories. So I've got base calibrations. These are the ones that come from Holley. You can see they got Ford, GM, Hemi, Hillborn, TBI. But I've got customer files. That's where I drop all my customer files. So in my tower in V3, these are the customer tunes that I've been working on. So there's Chris's car. So we click on Chris, and we go to 26, and actually you can see I've already got 3 versions of files. So V1 was our first setup for 26. And we started making a bunch of changes. See, there's all of our files going back and forth. Then we went to V2 just to cut down and make it, you know, easier to find files. And then we went to V3 in April. So if we're working on the 76-pound injectors, which was an upgrade we just made, there's our 42026 when I sent the file, and that would have a working file behind it. So you would click on that and then send it in the email. When you get it, when you get your email back, or when I send you a file back, you go to your under My PC, you go to Downloads, and there's the file. So all you need to do is any file you want to download or upload, you can just click on it and drag it over to the folder you want to put it in. Yes, we're going to replace the designation, and now it's in there. And you would do the same thing with your data logs. Go back to our main setting for Terminator. Let me open this all up. There's our Terminator Terminator X V3, and there's data logs. All your data logs are going to be in your data log file. And again, I put all the vehicles I've been receiving data logs or sending data. Well, I received data logs, and there's Chris's folder. Open it up. Again, we've been working on this for a while, so we'll go to 2026, and there's our V3 because I want to download files and put them in the same termination that we have for our global. So our globals, we're working on V3, so I put the data logs from the V3 global into the V3 folder, and there's our data logs. Once these are all in, now you can just go back. We can reduce this. We open up our V3, go to open global file, and again, here's Holley's file system, but it's exactly the same. So we go to customer file, and you can name these files anything you want. Obviously, if you're only working on one car, you can just name your car. Like my buddy Scott has a bunch of different cars, so we have different file folders for him. Here's a restoration shop called Resurrection Performance Cars. So you can see I've got 3 tuning cars I've been working on for that company. So you can just build a filing system so it's easy to find this stuff. So we go back to Chris, go back to our 26 V3, and here's the newest one that we have that he sent me back, and it's got learning on it on the fan. So the reason I have him send me the learn files because here's our file that I sent him, and obviously in the learning there's nothing there because it's a brand new file I sent to him. So he sent me one back, so we're going to go back to the one that he sent me, and this is the one he sent me back. Now we can go back to the global file. Now we go to learn, and you can see here this was just an idling file, but the file was adding 35% because it's a positive number, so it's adding 35% fuel in that section. So this file here is a little on the lean side. Let's see, that's odds VE. We want volumetric efficiency. So now we know that this section we need to add probably 20-30% to it to make it go. But we're not going to do that yet. I want to show you what we do with the data log. So once we have this, you can see there's the cursor where it was at, and there's our green lines because I already opened the data file. So click on data log. Let me back that up so I can show you guys. Go to data log, you go open data log. Then you have the same filing system you had before. And so we want to go see which one did I have open. I had the idle DR open. All right, so we're gonna open the around the block file. Now here's the data log he sent me from driving it around the block. Now we'll because this is a lot of data to look, we're going to open it up and dissect it piece by piece. So you just open a window like that, and now we're zoomed in. Or you can go here to your screens and zoom in, zoom out. Same difference. So on this one, our red is the RPM, the blue is the map sensor. You can see it was doing some funky stuff. We were working on idle air control. I don't remember. What's this here? So current learn, closed loop comp. Yeah, so when it was surging, the comp was doing some messy stuff. So you got to kind of dissect these data logs to see what's going on. So out here it's smoothed out, and our AFR actual and the yellow line is our target, so it's kind of funking around, being funky, and timing is a straight line, so that's good. Was the timing straight back here? You know, the timing was jumping around. Oh, actually the engine he was revving it up here. That's TPS is open. The green line is our TPS. So anyway, so you got to kind of dissect these things. I'm looking at this stuff for the first time right now. So let's go ahead and go back to the idle. So here the idle looks pretty good. Closed loop comp. Let's see. No. There we go. All right, for some reason I don't see the current learning. Oh, because it's over 25. So here's our current learn way up here. Yeah, so you can see Holley corrected it. Our target AFR is 14, and our actual and our target is 14. So right here, they're right on top of each other. So the system corrected itself. 187 degree water temperature. Everything else there looks pretty good, except for it needs more fuel. So let's look at another data log he sent me. And one thing I have to go back through and see when he sent me all these. Some of these are maybe before and after. He changed the idle air control motor in the car. I do see it's definitely adding a lot of fuel to it. Okay. Let's get another data log. I have 1.5 turns out. Oh, you know what? Let's look at that before I look at that. On here, do we have... No, so whenever you want to change any of this stuff on here, one thing pretty cool about Holley, you just go to the E for edit. And this is the basic fuel, that's what we're working on. We're going to take the fuel flow out of here. And we're going to add idle air control position. So we just drop it in, click OK. We're going to save it. And now we have current IAC position. And looks like it was on 0 the whole time. Oh, here's the IAC down here. Okay, so 27 went all the way down to 0. Stayed at 0. All right, so let's switch files now and go to that one. It was 1.5. IAC, this is actually the last one he sent me, 5.8. All right. So ignition timing was jumping around a little bit on this one. Current learn still 40%. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and change this tune, because obviously it needs more fuel in the area. So we'll go ahead and go down here and open up the base file again. Here's our base file. Here's our where the cursor is, and where this green is always where the data log is that you're currently looking at. So if we go here, there's our cursor, so that's where the dot's going to be, and it's going to show us all this area. Being that this was idle only, let's get rid of this one and go back to the around the block. Now we have all this area. Now we go back to the tune, and now you can see that all this area is what's in that data log. So if you want to get rid of that, you just go into data logs and go remove overlay, and now it's back to our normal colors again. So let's go to the learn table, and you can see a lot of that moving around did not change learning, because if the throttle is opening and closing, if the map pressure is changing, the computer will not auto learn. So what you could do, let me get rid of this overlay. So here's where the computer was making its corrections at. Now the easy thing to do is just go transfer to base. So it's going to take wherever you got this, transfer to base. Now the only thing is, it's going to mess with your fuel graph. So let's go to our fuel graph. There's our fuel graph. It looks nice and clean, right? So now let's go back to our learn, and we're going to take our learn and we're going to transfer it. This is why you don't want to just keep transferring all the time, because it can get away from you. But let's go ahead and transfer the learning to base. And yes, we want to smooth it out. Now our learn table went back to 0, because now we've erased the learn. It's actually been put in the base fuel table. Now we're going to go here, and you can, I don't know if you guys can see this, but in all the cells that were changed, there's a dot. And a dot is on the high side of the thing, so it showed you that it added fuel to those curves, to those cells. Now we'll go to our fuel map, fuel graph, and you don't really see it. It was a minor change down there, and smoothed it out. But I'd like to go a little bit farther than that, because we only did that one area. It's not going to be a true representation. It's not going to blend as well. So I'm going to go in one row, and I'm going to let's go from here. We're going to go across and down a bunch of rows, and then we're going to go fill row values, because actually we want fill columns. We're going up and down. We want to blend all those in for that correction, because we know even though this cursor was only in that area, it needs work everywhere. So we're going to go blend those. We're going to do the same thing at the top here. We're going to go down one row, and we're going to go up a couple rows, and we're going to go column again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over a couple rows, and again you can see the little arrows. I don't know if you can see them, but the dots are on the left side, the arrow is on the right side. The arrow is what we did in our blending. So now we're gonna blend this by rows instead of column. And we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. We're going to go here, go over a couple rows, and we're going to blend again by row. So now what we've done is we took a section that was basically that big, is where the learning table made its adjustments, and now we've converted them and we've blended them to an area that big. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow the engine, it's going to get more of the tuning blended over. Now, if it was only like 5 or 6%, I wouldn't have done that necessarily. But being that our learn values were over 20%, that's a good amount of fuel. And so we had to make a correction. Now, one of the things that was going on here, the reason why we needed to make this big change is because we've gone on Chris's car. When I first started tuning it, we were chasing the tune quite a bit. And what was happening was he's in California, and for whatever reason, he couldn't get a well-known injector. Let's just put it that way. He only could get an injector from a company on the internet he really didn't have any information on. They did not supply any of the injector off time. So we're fighting two things. And this is why injectors are such an important message. Let me go back here to our computer table and go back to our injector off time. So this table down here, this is the little ECU icon, which is the system parameters. This is your overall settings for your Holley program. This is the same whether it's a HP Dominator, Terminator X, even in a Sniper, you're still going to have the same thing. It's going to ask you what kind of EFI system you're going to have. Obviously, if it's a Sniper, it's going to be a 4-barrel. If it's a Stealth, whether it's a HP Stealth or a Terminator X Stealth, it's going to have, you'll have a provision for Stealth, but you have to tell the computer what injection system you have, and then you go down here and you tell it what injectors you have. So the old injectors did not come with this fuel curve. And what this table is showing, this is injector off time to make the injector flow properly in these numbers. So this table is from 8 volts all the way to 20 volts. And so obviously to make the injector flow the same amount of fuel from 14 volts to 8 volts, it's got to open up larger. And the whole reason is when you're cranking the engine, when the engine's idling and the alternator's not charging, if this table is not correct, you're not going to have accurate numbers, and it's going to change the actual AFR every time the voltage value changes. So we went to a Terminator X 76 pound per hour injector. This way we have room for a future supercharger, and we also have room for E85 if he wants to go that route. He's probably not going to do the E85 right now, but when he goes to a boosted application, the E85 has a lot more detonation protection, and it's a higher octane fuel, so it makes sense to have that sensor available to you so you can add the fuel, and then we can make tables to where we have RPM cuts or boost cuts, so that when you're on pump gas, you can't go too high on boost and burn up the motor. But this is the reason why we have to go into our base fuel table and make all these corrections, because we've been working all last year on these injectors that we didn't know the off time. We just came up with a guesstimation, and we were kind of chasing it. Every time I'd make corrections, it would change on cold start versus warm. The AFR would be way off. So we knew we needed a good injector. So we went to the Holley injector because we know we have that tables already built into the computer, and now this is why we're making these corrections to the table. And obviously, everything's showing us that we need to do that, because we want, if you go back to our file here and we zoom in, no, we didn't want to close it that much. You can see the teal line is our actual AFR. The yellow is our target. We have this pink line up here, which is our current learning, which they all should be on top of each other. They're not. So that's showing that it's got to do a lot of work to try to make the engine run right. So that's why we want to get, now when this engine got out here and got warmer, you can see that everything calmed down. Our teal line and the target line became one became one in the same number. Our current learn was still at 33%, but our learn was current learn was at 33%, and because the learn said, hey, we need to add 33% to this tune, then you can see our closed loop compensation is down to 3%. So that's how the self-learning goes, but we can, not up. But that's how we get that all to coincide. That's how the learning works. Now, just got it, food for thought. Learning will only learn in steady state. Oh, sorry. Yes. So, let me go back here for a second. Here's our craziness because the computer's trying to figure out where we're at. And as the motor warmed up, we got out to here, and it's trying to fix itself. And that's what this pink line up here is, where the current learn actually said, okay, we need 33% more fuel in here. We don't need the closed loop to keep adding fuel and taking fuel out. Let's just go 33%. And that brought our closed loop back to our baseline. So that's the way that works. And again, like I said, closed loop works all the time, unless you're rapidly changing throttle positions. And learn will only work at steady state. And the reason being is I've discussed in previous shows, there's a bunch of adder tables. So if we go back to the base fuel table, let me get rid of this. So you go in here. This is all for fuel. So we have our base fuel table. Here's our base fuel table. So the adder tables here's our target AFR table. So we have all these different pinpoints we're trying to reach to make it. So the computer is going to try to follow that and make each section, each cell match where the target is. In acceleration enrichment, we've got acceleration enrichment, TPS rate of change. That means how fast is the TPS changing. Here's AE acceleration enrichment map rate of change, how fast the vacuum is changing. We have acceleration enrichment by coolant temperature. So obviously when the engine's cold, it needs more fuel. When it's hot, it doesn't need as much fuel correction in the acceleration enrichment. Here's a map versus map AE time versus coolant. We have AE correction versus TPS, and map correction versus coolant. So you have all those cells in there. We have coolant temperature enrichment. We have air-fuel ratio offset by temperature. And we have air enrichment by temperature. And then we have cranking fuel. And we have after-start enrichment fuel. So all of these tables I just showed are all adders to the base fuel table. That's why on the base fuel table, learning will not learn under any TPS or map pressure change, and that's because you have all these adder tables, and it doesn't want to mask what the adder tables are doing. So it says, I'm not going to mess with that. So we're not making any adjustments. And that's why the rule of thumb is you're starting up your new EFI car, and it doesn't matter, in truck, boat, whatever you got it on. This doesn't matter whether you are using a Holley system or an OEM system or whatever you're using. When you start a new file, the first thing you want to do is calibrate the TPS, start the engine, flutter the gas pedal, whatever you can do to maintain the engine running till you can get it up to temperature, so that your enrichment, temperature enrichments are out of the question. Now, if the engine is idling smoothly and you're not having to flutter the throttle pedal, learning can then start. And what I normally do is I usually go back to the screen here. I usually go back to my base fuel table. I've got my cursor here, and what I'll do is I'll just start, rather than waiting for learning, I'll just go ahead and highlight it around it like that. And then in Holley, depending on what system you're operating, there is adjustment settings set up in the ECU. So you can go, you can right click on your cells, and you can offset by a number. You can use control and your arrows. Your control arrows on a Holley system, control up adds 1%, control down goes 1%, control left adds goes down 5%, control right goes up 5%. So you can, if you're looking at your, you go to your gauges here, and obviously I'm not hooked up, but you look at your AFR, and your AFR is 11.5, and you're idling warm, it should be a 14.7, then you can go into here and just go control down arrow 2 times, that's 10%, and then let it stabilize and see what that does to your AFR. And then maybe you go down another 1 click, another 5%. And then once it starts getting close, then you can go 1% at a time, get that whole area to be functioning, and then you can blend from there. But I like to get the idle area done first. Get that, so that is working. You're pretty close to your target AFR. And so now I know the vehicle will drive. At this point, since the AFR is pretty close, now I will go and adjust my throttle blade for IAC control. So what you want to do there is your idle air control motor, when the engine is running in neutral, no load, the IAC should be just about closed, because it's not having, the idle air control is not to aid in idle when there's no work to be done. Drop the vehicle in gear, now there's a load, now the IAC should start working. Turn your air conditioning on, now the compressor kicks in, now there's a load, now you need, now it's gonna, you need to have the IAC adjust so that you maintain the proper idle. So at that point, once you got that all good, now you can start going back to your throttle blade and look at your IAC. If the engine is idling, is it worth, I see wrench sense, is it worth in my build to have an AFR gauge? Yes, an AFR gauge works on anything. It's telling you how much burnt fuel is in the exhaust. So I do preface it, burnt fuel. Raw fuel is not sensed by the wideband sensor. But the beauty of that is, even if you're going to be carbureted, now you know where your jetting is. So you put in your AFR gauge on there. Now you got to kind of think about vacuum quantity or quality, and what's your overlap on your camshaft and stuff, so you can start picking out target AFRs that you want to shoot for. So if you've got a cam that's 112 to 115 LSA, you have let's say 15 to 20 inches of vacuum, you can go ahead and lean that motor out to about 14.2, and it should idle really good. If it starts getting sloppy, you can rich it up to maybe 14.0, and that would be your adjustment screws on the side of your carburetor if you're running a Holley, or your idle mixture screws on whatever Carter, Weber, whatever carburetor you're running. That's what those screws are going to be. And then when you go open throttle, then that's obviously going to be your main jet and power valve. A wrench says, even with open headers, no room for a sensor. So what you want to do is, on an open header, I would take your longest primary tube, and about the middle of the tube, put an O2 sensor in there. Sometimes you'll have to find a little longer, a larger bung, so that the sensor doesn't go all the way through, especially on a small diameter tubing. But as long as you have about 8 to 12 inches past the sensor of tubing, you're good. Then it should read pretty good, especially if there's not a lot of overlap in the cam. As your overlap gets worse, say you have a 106 or a 104 LSA on your camshaft, it's going to be a lot of reversion in the tailpipe. Then you need an extension. So what I do on race cars is I actually put a 5-foot piece of pipe and clamp it to the collector so that my O2 is reading. So on a race car, when you're open header, when you're like 3,500, 4,000 RPM all the way up, then the air is going in one direction and you have a pretty fair reading on your wideband. Obviously at low speed, you're getting way too much fresh air, especially on an open, 3-inch or 3.5-inch collector, and you've got 2-inch primaries. Well, there's no way that collector is going to stay full of air that you want to monitor. It's going to have all kinds of raw, fresh air in there, and your wideband's not going to show anything. So you want to put an extension on it. 106 on your cam. So you do have a fair amount of overlap on your camshaft. So if you're going to do zoomies, you like I said, just take one pipe and put a sensor in it about half, and I divide it in half. So say your zoomie is 12 inches long. Put it in the middle, 6 inches. That way you'll be kind of out of the high heat area of the coming out of the motor. But you can go closer. I wouldn't go any closer than about 4 inches. And then you've got a good amount of pipe on the other end. But all you have to do is, like on a zoomie, just find, say you're running a 2-inch or 2.25-inch zoomie, just go to your parts store and get a 12-inch extension with the swedge already on it so it'll slide over. I would take a little RVT or muffler sealer, that little crusty stuff, put some in there, stick it on there, clamp it. So now that you're not going to get lake pipes. Okay, well, lake pipes you're good because now you can go in that pipe, past your collector where all of them are merging, and you can see the whole entire bank. And you'll have that whole end of the lake to till it's fresh air. You're going to be fine like that. If you can get 16 inches past the sensor, it really doesn't matter how big the overlap, how small the LSA is, how much overlap is in the cam. You're gonna get a fairly good reading. But now, no collector. So all your pipes are gonna merge probably in a shorty type header, or in a cast iron type deal, and then connect to your into your lake pipe. So some of your cast iron manifolds, they actually at the flange may even have a wideband bung in there. So you can use that. That's fine. As long as you can get 12 to 16 inches past wherever the bung is, you should get a good reading. Do remember though, if you're going to go, I know lake pipes go down the side of the car, so it gets a little iffy there. Try to make sure your sensor is, if you're looking at your lake pipe or your collector or your muffler, your tailpipe, whatever it is, where you're going to put a sensor, this is a cutaway looking forward or back into the exhaust. You want your sensor to be no lower than 9 to 3. And the reason being is when you start up an engine cold, there's condensation in the header pipe. And the condensation, if it gets into the opening of the wideband, it'll knock the sensor out. Maybe not right away, but it will do it eventually. So if you can stay above that 3 to 9, you're pretty good. If you can get it straight in the top, obviously that's the best. But like on Cobra kit cars, lake pipes where they show down the side of the car, it's a little hard to do that because you don't want the sensor sitting there hanging out. But you could, for your tuning and stuff, you could make a copy your lake pipe out of just some muffler tubing and put your sensor at dead 12, and then you're good. You can make all your adjustments, you can check your main jets, doing some watt runs. You can do all your idle tuning, and you can see where everything's at, and you can really make the car run really good. Now, I would say for target AFR, if you've got a 106 LSA camshaft, it's probably going to have about 8 to 10 inches of vacuum. So at that point, you're not going to be able to idle the motor at 14.0, 14.2. It's going to be way too lean, and there's going to be reversion in the pipe because of the overlap. So I would target more of like a 13.8, 13.7. That's going to make it run really good. Wrench says literally no exhaust past the pipes going rearward, literally wide open with muffler inserts in the turnouts. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, that's fine. Just wherever you can get it, where you can get a length of pipe past that, or like I said, you can just make a dummy section of pipe for your tuning, and then once you're tuning, you can put your leg pipes on, and you don't have to use your sensor. But it's really good. Back in the day, I had a 454 Chevy Turbo 400 in a 1989 Itasca motorhome. It was a 32-foot Class A RV, and let me tell you, that thing got like 3 miles to the gallon. So, I like tuning stuff. I'm not gonna deal with that. So, it had a quadrajet, Rochester quadrajet, and if anybody's been into a quadrajet, you have your needles in there, which have a taper on them, and you also have a stop at the top of the top lid of the carburetor. So you take the stop out, you knock the pin out. Now you can put a double D screwdriver, and you can adjust how high the needles pull out by vacuum. Out of the the vacuum will draw the needles in, and then when you're driving down the road and the vacuum drops, the vacuum will, and then there's a spring, and it'll draw the needles out to enrich, and that's how they're kind of getting a fuel curve. So what do? I knock the plugs out. I knock the government covers over the idle mixture screws out so I can get to those, and I put a wideband sensor in it, and I leave the engine cover off, and I drive up and down the local roads. Once I got my idle mixture set right, I played around with the metering rods, got them kind of set right. Then I went out in 95, went into cruising speeds, and fine-tuned it there. And when I was all done, same engine, same everything. I also played around with timing too. At the end of the day, I made the thing get almost 8 miles to the gallon. So from 3.5 to 8 was a huge difference in in fuel mileage. So you'd fill this camper up, 75-gallon fuel tank. That's great, but I guess doubled the range it could go by adjusting the carburetor to what the AFR was telling me in the tailpipe. And I also took the ignition, which was a HEI, and I put a at the time Holley had Holley Excel had a box called 200 Plus, which was just wasn't a CDI box, but it just raised the voltage from 12 volts to 48 volts to the coil, and that amplifier, and 48 volts to the coil made the coil put out more spark. And believe it or not, that was good for a half a mile to gallon. MSD multi-spark box or a Excel 300 Plus box probably would even got even more fuel mileage out of it. But I was happy with that 7.5 to 8, and being it wasn't fuel injected, I couldn't really manipulate the timing table and stuff. This is why I tell people, if you're putting a sniper on, go ahead and put the Hyperspark kit in there so you can control timing, because mechanical timing is very hard to adjust, and you got your vacuum advance. I couldn't get a good timing curve, so once I had that engine leaned out, you couldn't go on an off ramp. My uncle borrowed the camper one time, and he goes up the on ramp and he puts it to the floor to get up to speed like he would in his car, and the thing starts spark knocking and stuff. And he calls me and goes, "This thing's, what kind of fuel do you need to put in?" I said, "Regular unleaded, that's all you need." And he tells me what happened. I'm like, "Oh, no, you can't do that. I don't have a good control on the timing table, so it's got too much lead in the timing, because when we're cruising, I want a lot of timing in there to get fuel mileage." I said, "You got to just crack the throttle, and it'll take you about a mile to get up to speed, but just keep it from detonating, and just drive it like that." And he drove it like that, and he goes, "Oh, easy peasy." Once I knew, and like I said, you get that 8 miles a gallon, you can go way farther on that 75-gallon fuel tank than you could at 4 miles a gallon. So obviously with fuel injection, we have a fuel table like this, so we can really manipulate the fuel, so we'd have enough fuel going in under load, and then we can go to our timing table, and we got this big huge timing table that we can control. Plenty of cells from zero vacuum, or 30 inches of vacuum to zero, and our RPM. So you can build I could build a table so that it wouldn't spark knock, it wouldn't get good fuel mileage, but at least you could accelerate, and then once you got up to speed, you could go back into your fuel mileage mode, and everything would work great. But with fuel injection, it's way easier to do it this way. So that's how all that works. Yeah, so wrench, that would be my outlet. My best thing for you would be get a cheap AFR meter. Innovate LC2 is pretty inexpensive. There's a couple other brands out there, and they use a Bosch LSU 4.9. That's the actual type of sensor that's in there, and they're cheap. You can buy those at the parts store for like $70, just a sensor. So if you do knock the sensor out, it's not like a lab quality, $200 sensor, and you can replace it. Excuse me. And you can work on your tuning and stuff. But I actually, what I did years ago is I took one of those little plastic bin boxes you get for like a socket kit or something like that. I took a piece of ABS plastic and, cut the whole inside of it out. I mounted a air fuel gauge. I think I actually had an autometer at the time, and it was just a 180 degree sweep, or maybe it might have been a 270 sweep AFR gauge, and then it had a digital readout in the center. So I just mounted that to the ABS, screwed that into the box, and then had the wiring coming out, and an alligator clip. No, I used a cigarette lighter for the power and ground, and then a lead that went down to the wideband, and I could put that in any car I was working on, and I could monitor the wideband, when I was doing a lot of carburetor stuff. And lo and behold, I'm on the street with an AFR, so I can work on power valve and main jet and metering valves and all that stuff, idle mixtures, and what a perfect way to make a carburetor run perfectly. So really good to have. Obviously, with your arrangement with the lake pipes, you might not be able to get the sensor to stay in there. I mean, if you can get the sensor where it looks appeasing to you. I know in a early high boy type situation like you're building, it's kind of hard to hide stuff. But my buddy Bubba's got a 33 high boy that we've got headers on, and I was able to catch a spot where I could go. Looking at, it's actually in the passenger side header, so looking at about 9:30, I was able to get the sensor in, and it still was just under the edge of the frame there, and so you can see it if you're looking for it, but it's hidden pretty well because his car is EFI, so he wants the sensor in all the time. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do with those wideband controllers. Like I said, you can make it universal, so you can use it on all your cars, or make it permanent in your hot rod, and you can watch what you're doing fuel wise and stuff like that. So that's how we do it. So when you're doing data logs and global files, you want to always when you're sending it to a tuner, you always want to rename the global file, so that way it memorizes all the learning, and you can then when you send the tune file to the tuner, he can look at the learn table and see what it's doing. Now, most of the time on the learn tables, I won't, especially if you get the entire table obligated, I usually will not cross those over into the base fuel table. I will take sections and just make my adjustments and blend them so that it just makes more sense. A lot of times, if a learning file has been in there for a long time, and you start getting a little hiccup in the engine or something, it can start skewing all your numbers, so they may not be exactly what you want. So kind of what I do is like take a half or 3/4 of the adjustment and add that to the table, not actually the entire learn table, and then let it relearn and see, and just work our way down till we get to that 5 to 8% learn, and we know we got it working well. So I hope that was good information for you guys. I'm gonna get some better stuff on this stuff once I get back in and I get tuning on the T-Type next week. I'll get some stuff on that. Right now I got to make it street legal so I can drive it. And of course we'll be in Orangeburg, Neese, South Carolina this weekend for the Mike Hills race, and I'll get some video on that. I'll try to pop up some live stuff during the weekend, and go over what our weekend of events. Hopefully we'll come back with a big win. We'll go over all that stuff next week. So we'll keep working our way up here to our 150th episode, and I know I did notice that this last 2 weeks we did get about a 20 number jump in subscription. So keep adding the subscriptions, match the like button, share with your friends, and we'll go ahead and do all this stuff again next week. Appreciate everybody watching and coming out every week, and we'll go from there. Hope you all appreciate it. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next Tuesday.